The living room smelled faintly of roasted turkey, cinnamon, and a subtle undertone of perfumed tension. I lingered by the doorway, dressed in black, clutching my purse. My sister Natalie rose like a queen taking her stage. "We voted," she declared, voice rehearsed and smug. "You're not family anymore." Laughter erupted. Cousin Laura clapped. My mother smiled politely but without warmth. My father sipped his beer, silent, letting the words land. The stuffing grew cold on the table, the cranberry sauce congealing. My gut clenched, but I smiled softly. "Then I guess you won't need this," I said, placing a thick folder in the center of the table. Eyes widened. Forks hovered midair. Natalie's smirk faltered for a heartbeat. "What's that?" she asked, too calm, too practiced. I leaned back, folded my arms, letting the silence stretch. The folder, heavy with 5 years of unacknowledged support, pulsed in the candlelight. She grabbed it, flipping pages with confident anticipation, but the folder wasn't a joke. Receipts, bank transfers, screenshots, and emails glared up at her, each one a testament to the favors she and the family assumed were owed. Her smug grin dissolved, replaced with a pale, horrified stare. Screams ripped from her throat, raw and unrestrained, echoing off the walls. Chairs toppled. Wine glasses quivered. My mother's smile vanished. My father lowered his gaze. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. "You monster," Natalie whispered, voice trembling with disbelief. I shook my head. "I only showed you what's real. Not lies. Not opinions. Facts. Every text. Every transfer. Every manipulation you thought I didn't see." The room was paralyzed. My power was quiet, precise, undeniable. This wasn't revenge, it was recognition, clarity, and control over a life I had silently sustained for years. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I simply let truth unfold like a storm in their laps. The folder was my declaration. The end of invisible labor, the end of financial slavery disguised as family loyalty. And as Natalie's face drained of color, as my mother's lips trembled and my father averted his eyes, I realized it. For the first time in my life, I owned my story. Natalie didn't just awaken one morning and decide I was the enemy. Every joke at dinner, every slight, every comment about my quietness, every demand thinly veiled as family responsibility, all of it had been building, brick by brick. I remembered college, paying my way, working 2 jobs, never asking for help. Natalie floundered academically, traveled aimlessly, and married Joel, who barely knew how to stand upright without a LinkedIn photo to prop him. And yet, when she faltered, when bills piled or emergencies struck, I was the one they called. $78,000 over 5 years. Dental surgeries, rehab, tuition, weddings, vacations, all quietly covered. And never once did anyone offer repayment. Not one. My kindness became duty, duty became expectation, and expectation became abuse. The folder contained it all. Every receipt. Every bank transfer. Every text. Every private post where they mocked me. It wasn't just numbers, it was evidence of how much I had carried, silently, while they laughed, judged, and then turned the knife, declaring me toxic when I said no. Yet in that room, watching them absorb the truth, I felt something I hadn't in a decade, quiet satisfaction. They had assumed my compliance was limitless. They had assumed I would never confront them, never hold a mirror up. But tonight, facts spoke louder than pleas, louder than apologies or screams. Natalie's eyes darted to Joel, to the folder, to anyone but me. I stood calm, collected, untouchable. For years, I had been invisible, useful, a scapegoat, and a wallet. Now, I was seen. Not for what they wanted, but for what I truly was, someone who had endured, who had calculated, who had finally drawn a line. The room smelled of burnt candles and fear. Even the turkey, forgotten and cold, seemed to shiver. My father muttered something about overreaction. My mother tried to interject with false calm. I ignored them. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to justify. I simply existed in the truth, and they couldn't handle it. Joel, finally, grabbed the folder. His jaw dropped. "Wait, all of this," he whispered. Yes, I said softly. Every word, every dollar, every lie. Natalie stammered, flustered, faltering for the first time. This was not the control she had rehearsed. Her golden girl facade crumbled. Her husband's eyes widened as he realized the financial and moral web she had spun. You lied to me, he said quietly. About everything. I didn't, I said. You did it yourself. The family's rehearsed performance collapsed. My mother's polite smiles disappeared. My father's beer barely touched his lips. Silence wrapped around the room like winter frost. For the first time, I wasn't defending myself. I wasn't explaining. I wasn't apologizing. I was presenting undeniable proof of their greed, entitlement, and hypocrisy. And the consequences? Explosive. Natalie's screams, Joel's shock, my mother's trembling hands. Each reaction was earned, precise, and inevitable. Weeks later, the texts, voicemails, and letters started. Threats, pleas, manipulations cloaked in guilt. But I was quiet. I didn't respond. I didn't engage. My silence became my fortress. I filed the legal paperwork, revoked power of attorney, removed myself from all financial obligations, changed emergency contacts. I no longer carried the weight of their lives or their mistakes. They tried to break me with letters, with guilt, with feigned vulnerability. I read each carefully, then let it sit. Not because I was cruel, but because I finally realized their manipulation was not my problem. I had survived decades of entitlement and invisibility. Now I could live for myself. I started waking early, running, cooking, seeing friends. I drank coffee slowly. I went to therapy. I reclaimed my time, my energy, and my life. Each small action became a declaration of independence, a quiet rebellion against years of systemic family abuse. By February, the letters stopped hiding their agenda. My mother asked for help with the mortgage. Natalie tried guilt trips about their child. Joel begged for intervention. But none of it mattered. I had done my work. I had faced them with truth. I had drawn boundaries that could not be crossed. The freedom was intoxicating. The folder had done its work, but my life was mine alone. I applied for a new job, moved cities, and felt an exhilaration I hadn't known in years. Liberation from expectation, manipulation, and financial servitude. I was no longer the scapegoat. No longer the wallet. No longer invisible. I was alive. Months later, I received the final letter. 3 words from my mother: we're still family. No apology, no ownership, just manipulation in its purest form. I smiled, tossed the envelope, sat by the fireplace. Silence. Peace. The life I had denied myself for decades was finally mine. Friends, therapy, work, independence. Simple, honest, clean. I was living, not surviving. And the lesson? True family doesn't demand payment for love. True peace comes when you say enough, when you reclaim yourself, and when you finally let go. I didn't look back. I didn't second guess. I was free.